Boys say, Baruch Hashem, today is a very special day. We're going to be mamshich, part of what we were discussing yesterday. So JJ asked a very good question, and I said that the Balatanya asked that question. And today we're going to focus on the answer. And be with me, and I'm asking Hashem that I should give it over properly, without making any mistakes, that everyone should get it clearly. So as we were discussing at length in the last few shiurim, the chomer inyan, the severity of the pagama bris, the seriousness of this sin, which, of course, as we're living in Gullus and the Yitzhar is losing his control over us and making us crazy, so it's a common sin, but it's a very severe sin. And we discussed at length what Chazal tell us, the greatness and the power of how not good this Avera is. So then JJ said, he asked the question, if it's so severe, why isn't it in the Torah? Torah should have said, Mefurish, do not be poigim your bris, do not make it Torah Zeh. And we said that this is exactly what the Hilgah Balatanya asks in Perek Zayin, as he's discussing Ben Arichas at length, the Nakud of how to do tshuva, two different types of tshuva for different types of sins. And it's a whole topic on its own, that they are devarim that are devarim mutarim, permitted things, as we know, kadosh atzma b'mutar, things. There are things that, let's call it for lack of better terminology, they're parv, they're not asur, they're not mutter. But chas v'sholem, a person could take a davar shebekdusha, something which is holy, and done improperly, could bring that down into the shalosh klipas tameis, into the three cardinal tumas, that it's very, very difficult to get it out of there. That means Balatanya at length discusses the things that are asur and the things that are mutter. What does the lashon of asur mean? Asur means lashon asir, that they're bound together. Like we thank Hashem every morning, but when we get out of bed, we can move our hands and feet and say, Baruch Ata Hashem, matir asurim. Thank you so much for binding the bound. Right? So the word asur comes from the idea of something which was asir, asur, that it was bound together, that it was completely bound to klipa. Asur means bound to klipa. Matir asurim means that Baruch Hashem, that we get to come up and we get to dance, and Baruch Hashem, our joints are working. Thank you Hashem. But there's something called, right? We appreciate that. But there's a nakuda of something which is asur, that it is bound to the klipa, is not yet mutter. That means, he gives an example. What's the problem with arla? Arla is a new planted fruit tree that's growing fruits. So the first 3 years, it's arla. Arla, you're not allowed to eat from that. In the 4th year, it becomes mutter. You can bring it to Yerushalayim for the Kurim. And the 5th year, it's already mutter, lakoil. You can eat everything from those trees, right? Very negative for coming up to B'Shvat, which we'll talk about another time. But the idea is, this is technically an apple. An apple is 100% permitted to eat. Apple, that's not something wrong. But during the 3 years of a newborn apple tree, no, it's klipa, because the Torah does not allow it to eat, because it's still bound. Right now the Torah says it's arla, and it's not yet the prime time. It's not yet the permitted time to eat it. So therefore, before 4 years, this fruit to eat, and chas v'sholom, a person is eating arla, and the chiyus, the life of this apple is coming from shalosh klipas tameis, severe klipa.
What about Ravid? Is that from the Klipa Noga?
Klipa is already clear, yes, Klipas Noga, because it could be permitted when brought to Yerushalayim, true. And then the 5th year it goes out, it's completely permitted for everybody, yes.
So you should eat it in the 4th year and take that out.
Take it out and bring it to Yerushalayim. That's right. That's also the Hasidic explanation in Panimi to giving a child a haircut when he enters his 4th year. That's why many of us have a reason bringing him to Miron. It's like bringing him to to the tzaddikim, to take out that, but the klipas noiga, to bring it into the light, but it's already permitted. It becomes mutter. But in essence, meaning it's only klipa temeya at that time that it's arla, because it's not something like a davar acher, which is chas v'shalom chazir, right? Which that will never be permitted. We'll find out. We'll see what happens. But right now, it's not something that at a time, not in a month, not a year, it'll never become kosher. The Zel Mazachi says a person could do a sin. Let's say a person ate too much or something, and that brought into not good machshavas, or a person, he gives many examples over here that of nekudas, that a person could take something that's mutter and bring it down, chas v'shalom, that these things lechatchila, that from the onset, that they're aser, and the things that are mutter. But then there are things that were mutter that can fall to aser, and there are things that were aser that become mutter, as we explained earlier, right in the Perek Tanya, Perek Zayin. Now, there are certain things that fall into a klipa, but before they fall into the three cardinal klipas, it's easier to do tshuva. If it left the kedusha and fell into klipa, but not yet into severe klipa, so this tshuva, person does tshuva, simple level tshuva, you take the kedusha back and bring it back into holiness. Something chas v'shalom which fell to shalosh klipas tameis, that's a harder tshuva because it already fell in shalosh klipas tameis. Shein behem toiv klalik, the Baal Tanya says, those klipas, when something falls in there, no simple tshuva will help anymore. Person has to do something called tshuva mahava rabba. Tshuva, not just a regular simple tshuva nechoina, it has to be a very sincere, deep level tshuva. When a person does that tshuva, then it'll be schlepped out. But that's a severe tshuva. And he gives, we're not learning the Perek Tanya, so I'm not going into depth now to explain everything that he says. When we are holding at that Perek, I'm coming to JJ, your teretz to your kash. I'm learning the Tanya now. And why, remember to ask, why isn't the oven of Shich V'Zer Levatala in the Chumash, in the Torah?
By Yehuda's sons.
It's by Yehuda Erva Einon, but it should be by Bias Asuris. In Arais, it's mentioned, right, that the sons of Yehuda were Erev, because they were Rabbeini Hashem, because they wasted their seed. But it's not in the halachos of Bias Asuris. We said that it's worse than Bias Asuris. So that was the question. Why is it not in the Torah? So the teretz, the Baal Tanya answers is like this. Yes, we've explained and can continue explaining the severity of this geferliche, this terrible, horrendous sin. The worst sin in the Torah. Mom is the worst sin in the Torah. But there's a huge difference from this sin to even bias asuras, meaning somebody that chas shalom had inappropriate relationships, somebody was allowed to have. There's a big difference. In one hand, we find that it's mamish oven chomer miyoid. The Torah says, like you mentioned, by the children of Einon, it says Rabbeini Hashem. Oh boy, nobody wants a proclamation like that. Rabbeini Hashem, Bandas Hashem. That's no good. But listen to this. With that, there's something slightly easier than over Bias Asuris. Why? We said yesterday it's even worse than Bias Asuris. And Baal Tanya says also it's even worse than Bias Asuris. But why is that? That is because the tipa doesn't end up in a kli. Didn't end up anywhere. And therefore the riboy hatuma, which is the idea of extending the tumah, is very, very, very great. Because you've extended tumah. You've made something which could have been holy, should have been holy, and should have created a nefesh and a person, and you've just brought it to, like we said, the counter partners of the Sitra Achra, of the Samach Mem, you've created a Riboy Atuma. And not only that, you have to know that the outside, the forces of Tuma, they love and they nash, and this is to get their chiyas from real Kedusha that fell their way. Right? One of the reasons why it says that a woman becomes, after having a baby, Tuma for so long, right? They need the cycle just forever, right? Until finally everything cleans out. One of the Kabbalistic inyanim is because such holiness just came out of that woman, that the second the baby, which is a Sefer Torah, coming out from her Kodesh, comes out, Klippas are like, let's get some last licks. And they pound and haunt that woman. Therefore, the tumor level is so strong for a very long time until they're like, there's nothing left there. And they slowly, everything stops. But one of the Nakudas is that they're looking for where they could snatch Kedusha away. That's what we said. If you remember, we spoke one night about what happens on Nittel night, that because they're searching, they need koyach, they need some Torah, we're very powerful, then let's steal. That guy's not learning Torah, the Shema, we'll get from him. That guy, is, he's learning Torah, but he's full of Averis, They're looking always, that's where they get their keys from. So therefore, if a good Jew had a mistake, and had Jared Batolo, and then it's party-arty. Wow, look, a Tipa came out, wasted, and it's not going anywhere. Let's chop it. So the Riboy Atuma, the extension of the Tuma, is horrendous, much worse than if somebody even was with a Goita or an Ida. Why? Because the Riboy Atuma, the extension of the Tuma didn't end up anywhere. Yeah, it ended up there. Over here, at least something came out of it. But here's the catch-22. The problem is, we said Riboy Atuma, the extension of Tuma. But the depth of the Tuma, the greatness of the Tuma is much worse in the Bias Asur. So somebody has a shalom, right? A fellow had relations with a Goita or with an Ida. The depth of that Tuma, you need like the biggest tshuva to do. The biggest tshuva. That's a lot of work. We're not even getting to the topic right now. Tipas Erlev Atolo, the tshuva we said last night, is Tikkun HaKloli from Rabbeinu Reb Nachman. The Heilig Ariya Kodesh says, say Kriya Shema Shalamita, Chavra, beg you. Shem begs you. We all beg you. Say every single night the full 3 parshas of Kriya Shema. And if you could, also Yoshu B'Sei Sarelia and Elef, right, like it said, Yipel Metridcha Elef, or Revavim Iminecha, Elech Lo Yigash is all talking about eluded, all of these things, we're mamish fighting them. That means when a person, and the Heilige Lubavitch Rebbe, the Friedrich Lubavitch Rebbe, as Yitzchak said, and the Rizal says, Kriya Shema B'Kavona, he's not asking of you and I mean, maybe you, not for me, the deepest kavanas, Maybe I don't know the deepest kavanas. I'm assuming I'm not the only guy that doesn't know, the deepest kavanas. You know what I mean? So what does it mean? It means words of the Pirush Hamilas. Just understand when you say Kriya Shema, what you're saying. Say them nice and slowly. Vahoya, Im Shemaya, Tishmu, El Mitzvosai. You know what you do when you do that before you go to sleep at night? You're killing, slaughtering all the mazikin. All of those klippas that were created from all of these kind of affairs, just chopping them down like we said yesterday. It's important to kill them. We're not killing their chiyas. We have an avoid first to kill them, then we have to do a tshuva and ask Hashem to bring those souls back into the kisei hakavod and then bring them back in a proper fashion. But it's not like we're not murderers. We're helping ourselves. We're helping the world. They don't want to be around there either. They're just souls that were brought down. Rather, because even though it was a Riboy Atuma, I've extended the Tuma, but the depth of the Tuma is not as great as Chas v'Sholom, if a Jew, if a good Jew, had relations with a non-Jew, the depth of that Tuma, is so deep. That's in the deepest levels of Sholosh Klippas Tameis. And Chas v'Sholom, and I need the cycle, it's a very deep Tuma. That Tshuva needs a much greater tshuva. That tshuva, of course, Nachamol and Yesh Ba'im Glal, and of course this tshuva, but that's a much harder homework. Of course, this tshuva, avada this tshuva, but the Balatanya answers the reason, and it's not as bound to the tumah as when the arayis that the Torah mentions. So the teretz to the kasha that you asked, which is a very important question, if Sheikh Vazer Levatolo is so severe that the Torah says there's no oven, Chazal tells us there's no oven chomer as strict as and as as severe as the oven of Sheikh Vazer Levatolo, why isn't that in the Torah? Answers the Baal HaTanya that the Torah only brings something which is usher, that it's bound to klipas to maize completely. When it's something that's bound, like the arayis, that the prohibited immoralities that the Torah mentions, that they're usher, as we said, asir, they're completely bound to the klipas of tameis. Those are what's mentioned in the Torah. Sheikh Israel Tella, even though it's the severity is huge because the riba atom is huge, but it's not as deeply bound to the shalosh klipas tameis, because with the tikkun klali and with kriyish mashalamita and with fixing our actions and making and trying to be a good Jew and doing tzedakah and at least there's a lot that we could take out those klipas and do, which is not the same level as, of course, this tshuva of everything. Of course, the tshuva of everything. Number one, this tshuva for everything. Tshuva for everything. Get that through our souls and our heads through everything. But here we're answering the question. If it's so severe, why isn't it in the Torah? Because the depth level of Tumah by a harayis which the Torah made usher is much deeper in the klipas. Kriyish Mashalamita on a symbol level won't be enough really. That will help. It's part of the process, but you need a lot of bechia, a lot of tshuva, and avada, a lot of tshuva me'ahav, a lot of tshuva. Of course, there's a lot of. It's a different. Maybe we'll talk about another time. But now what we're answering in this Indian, the Torah, it's why it's not in the Torah, says about Latanya. Because when the Torah writes Osir and Mutter, something that's Osir midaraisa in the Torah is something which is Asir. It's bounded to the klipas on a very deep level. This, even though the Riboy Atomah, you're extending the Tomah to places, over there the extension isn't so deep. The extension is, it went to the wrong address, and that address is, very deep level of Tumah, but it had an address. Lazar Vatala is homeless. It's no address. And it gets captured by bad klipa, so therefore that extension isn't by any other Aver. That it goes mamish, completely just delivering like a coin into the klipa, like giving tzedakah directly into. The other thing has a kli. It becomes nature, it becomes something. Came a kid, whether it's a mamzer, whether it's something, fine.
What if it didn't? Is it considered Zera Batala? Like, even if it was with a woman, but nothing happened?
If nothing happened, it's still, because once there's there, even if nothing happened, it's still very severe.
It's still
because
considered like it had a clean?
Yeah, because it was, there was his dabkus. There was this dabkus. Listen, it's going to be something that we have to know. There's yesh lachkar. It's a good question. We have to find that this is. But again, could be the truth would be easier because again, yes, nothing actually. But we have to know the Metzias is the teretz. The reason why Chomer Moed, it doesn't help us, doesn't make it much greater. No, it's the Riba Yatumah. We didn't have this Riba Yatumah in any other Aveira. But the reason why it's not, it's because the tshuva, like we said yesterday, is easier to do. It's easier to do, and it's a big chizik. It's a big chizik. Meaning, even if Chas Chalil, someone that was over the biggest Averis in the world, even the worst. There's also tshuva. And true tshuva, if somebody has real charata, as we know the famous story of the holy Noam Elimelech Miloshensk. Very, 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 tshuva is in the charata of a person. If a person is mortified how he's sinned against the Eibishter, and therefore he mamish is like he can't even face his essence, right? And mamish feels that the Eibishter says, I see that you really mean me. That's a deep cleaning. That's real. That's real. That's a very big tshuva. Have a person he starts serving the Eibush to such as lahavas in every union, and he's showing that it's all that clean. That's a deep cleaning. Kriya Shema is also very important, but there's a tshuva mahava. The person mamish, he got to a level in his tshuva that he can't even. His heart goes out to Hashem completely in mortification for what he's done in the past because he's such deep love to Hashem. That's an amazing cleanup too. And there's a famous story with the Heilige Noam Elimelech Miloshensk. True story, Slaughter brings it down. There was a story, there was a fellow that Mamish couldn't live with himself, the amount of sin that he did, including he was married to many goitas and everything. It was very, very, couldn't live with himself. And somebody found him and said, listen, there's a Rebbe that can help you do tshuva. He's like, nobody can help me do tshuva. He's like, there's a Rebbe that can help you do tshuva. He's like, yeah, who is this? He says, the holy Noam Elimelech Elishensky. He's like, Bawa, if I go there, he'll throw me into the devil's dungeon forever. I am so schmutz. I am so dirt. He says, no, why don't you come to the Heilige Elimelech Elishensky? And he said, no problem. He came. He was so desperate for tshuva. And he came to the Heilige Elimelech, and this is a fellow that had already gone, I think a few times, 7 years. He went in Golos, and he was mamish. He had no guf left, and he was traveling, and mamish from just city to city in Tamnesim, and he still felt the sin was as live and fresh because he was missing a certain level of deep cleaning, true charata and love to the Eivishter. So he comes to the Heilige Balnoim Elimelech Lashensky, the Holy Rebbe Elimelech Lashensky, and the Rebbe Elimelech looks at his kvittel and says, "Woo! Oh my gosh, that was pretty hardcore. Yeah, I'm pretty schmutzy. He needs a real good bathing over here." So he calls the guy in and he says, "Well, listen, I have a ticket for you." He says, "You do?" He says, "But only if you listen to me. If you promise to listen to me, can we make this ticket?" He says, "Rebbe, I'm ready to do." He thought like going through a grinding machine in the, in the meat department. He's like, "What?" He says, "Okay, in order for us to do the first step, I need you to go home to your house for 2 weeks. I need you to eat. I need you to drink. I need you to sleep." He's like, "What? No, I haven't eaten in years. I'm so filthy. I'm so by the shum. I can't eat. I can't drink." He says, No. I told you we made a deal. You want tshuva? I'll help you do tshuva. But I need you first 2 weeks. Go home, get some koiches. You've been in Golos for so long, I can't even start with you. Okay, the Rebbe said. He goes home. He started eating something. He hadn't done years. He was drinking, sleeping. They came to the Rebbe. Looked a little better physically. And Rebbe says, "Okay, bring me my siddur." The guy brings the Rebbe the siddur. He opens up to by Tachman where it says, "Ashamnu bagadnu vidoy." He says, "Look at my siddur and say with me, Ashamnu." The guy says, "Ashamnu." Gives himself a little clap. Guy faints on the spot. Faints. They're like, "Oh my gosh, we got to revive this guy." They spill some vodka on him, I don't know. They revive him. And he's like, "Rebbe, I can't. Whoa. Oi." Rebbe says, "Okay, go home, eat, sleep a little, get some koyach, come back in 2 weeks." 2 weeks later, the guy comes back. They open up the siddur. Base. Look at the siddur and say after me, "Bagadnu, I've betrayed you, God." Guy falls down. They revive him again. He's like, "I can't, I'm going to die." He's like, okay, we're getting there. This is what happened over and over. As he finished the whole thing, by the time he came to Yavnu, to Inu, to Tonu, and his mamish felt like a new person. He's like, "Rabbi, I feel clean finally. Oh, I just want to serve Hashem now." He says, "Now you're about tshuva, and I could serve Hashem." I'm like, "What happened? What did you do?" He said, "This fellow was doing gullus and he was going here. But one thing was missing. He hadn't yet gotten to the depth of the charata. When I said with him, Hashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu," he said with me, I brought him to the essence of how wrong that sin is. His soul couldn't be living anymore. He got knocked out. He fainted, almost died. But that charata, woohoo! That charata was the deepest cleaning. That guy will never, ever touch that aver again from the charata he had. Imagine somebody, right, that ate something that was super duper spoiled and sour, yeah? That guy ate something, I barfed sick for 3 days. And the next guy walks in and says, "Why don't you try this thing fresh?" I can't get fresh. I can bake the front of me. Take that thing out. This thing makes me sick. You know what I mean? Even it's the best thing. I don't know. It could be anything. A slice of meat, the best roast. But the last time I tasted this roast, Who knows what was wrong with that? I think I had stomach viruses for months. I'm not touching. I don't care if it's, freshly made. Now, that's it. The charata brings such a deep, when a person's mom is going through, and the ehrlich way, when he learns the greatness of the Eibishter, and he learns and he's powering himself in tshuva, mitis, and the godless of the Eibishter, and the severity of what a sin does, and a person practices and learns the Torah, the Shema, trying to get close to the Eibishter, that goes internally so deep that the charata is so real that's a tshuva ma'ahava from the love not to. The Piasechet explains it like this. This guy that says, Meir cheshbon nefesh, I'm messed up. I'm just messed up. Loads of sins. I took out, the Shulchan Aruch from beginning to the end. I'm done, right? Okay, you know what? From now, I'm a better Yid. From now. Fine, and he changes. From the moment he changes, but he left baggage of dirty garbage behind him. He changed, but he left it hanging. So in one way, yes, from that date, today, Chaf Ches Tevis, Tavshin Pei Dalet, so fine, from today he started a new slate, Gavaldi. What about everything you left behind till today? Fine, you didn't make any new garbage, but you never cleaned up your mess. So he says that's like a guy that's just like, okay, he does tshuva because he's really afraid of the world to come, but it's not like because of major love to Hashem. Imagine when we learned the piece of Piasechet, I give the example. If some friend, you punch him in his nose every day, and then one day, like, okay, I'm not punching the nose anymore. Okay, what about my broken nose every day for the last 10 years? No, I'm not punching your nose anymore. The guy's not becoming your friend, Well, thanks for not punching my nose, but what about, months of beating me up? Tshuva Mahava is, of course, from now, I change a new slate. I'm going to be a good Yid. But in a bunch of oy vey, past, you know what I mean? What am I going to do? And a person makes, by taking Chatzos, we spoke about in the Tanya, I pick a time, and only at that time, because the rest of the time, you don't all day walk around this guild. You make a time on your clock. 5 minutes that you yourself are in charge of, nobody else. These 5 minutes, I focus on my past. 5 minutes passes, that past is forgotten about. I've been a tzaddik like Moshe Rabbeinu since I'm born. And that's about time he says the person has to do. Otherwise, the person is going to the whole time be brought back into the bad place. That's no good. But 5 minutes in the middle of Tikkun Chatzos, when I'm making my self-examination about where I'm holding, that's when I cry my heart out to bunch from years of nothing. I can't even live myself. I would burn myself in a fire alive right now and hope that even one piece of sin gets rectified. I'm so, right? That moment, I'm cleaning up the garbage that was before. That means I love Hashem. That's not just, okay, I'm not afraid, I'm afraid of what's going to be in the future. So now I'm going to have till the day I die a good slate. No. I also want to correct what I did now till from when I came to this conclusion. What about in the previous conclusion? Who knows? I want to just rectify. So that's when a person shows that I love Hashem. It's not just that I'm not making new garbage, it's that I'll clean up my mess from before.
Tshuva.
That's tshuva me'al tshuva and tshuva me'al hava as well. Tshuva me'al tshuva is another thing, really. Tshuva me'al tshuva is as I grow greater, so then those sins can bring to today where I'm holding much worse than I was back then. Back then I was a freshy guy, you know what I mean? Not a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but no big chiddush that I sin. But now I have so much more das, so much more torn out, so much more great. That's it when it's matched up to me. It's like, what? You? That's oh my gosh, every day that I get great to the Eibishter, my old sins in a way are like much more intensified. Even I did tshuva with them. That's tshuva, that's the avoid of tzaddikim. That they're always doing tshuva because they're always getting greater, and they're not only doing tshuva for themselves, they're doing tshuva for whatever it is, but because we become greater people, so then, again, it's not all day. It's only at a time when I have to have a leiv nishbar, when I break my heart, and it has to be clapped. Tanya says, if it's at any other time, know it's the Sahara and ignore it. That guy's in the middle of, as now he's in the middle of work, and he's like, oh man, I'm such a bad kid. No, what are you talking about? Even if he's right, talking about certain things, I'm sorry, not now. No, Moshe Rabbeinu, no. That's right, lo achshav. Not now, because now it's not the time for this. In the middle of davening, a person's supposed to be connecting the deepest stuff to the Eibush. The Tzar comes to him and says, Lamaisa, you're a filthy Jew, No. No. I'll see you later. Nice to meet you, Tzara. Come back to me when I invite you during my 12 to 12:05 time. No. That's the time a person's supposed to focus on these things. But when he focuses on things, then mom is just, no, not on, and the Baltani gives a simon that it's real. So my clock finishes, like my time frame that I created, because I have to be careful, because it's dangerous territory, stops. I feel so good. I feel like, wow, I feel like that fellow that the normally Malach helped, when he came back to himself afterwards, he's like, whoo, feel good. You know what I mean? He felt, because you know that's real. Because I did tshuva, and I believe 100% the Eibush was makabel my tshuva. So therefore, a person has to know that there's tshuva for everything. But Nachamol, the teretz is the difference between extending the tumah to the depth of the level of tumah. The Pagama Bris level of Sheikh Vazer Vatolo extends the tumah like in the biggest toifim, because there's no destination. It's directly, giving over to the klipas and giving them koich for no reason. That's horrendous. But the depth of tumah is much deeper in what the arais that the Torah said. So therefore, when we do Kriya Shema Shalamita, and when a person does, taking Kali foods right away, for sure, even if not the whole time. But the main thing is, a person every night should not go to sleep without saying Kriya Shema Shalamita nice and slowly. And Avada, if it's Chas v'Chalila worsens, a person has to contemplate and make a real cheshbon and nefesh and cry over those sins when the person makes that handle over that. And Avada cry to the Eibishter, beg the Eibishter, I can't live myself. I need you to forgive me. I need you to be Makar of me. I need you. A person, then Avada, that's deep cleaning. And the rest of the day, don't worry. Focus on Kedusha, focus on positive, focus on Torah, focus on, the positivity that we have so much of, and we'll be Zoicha to feel close to the Eibishter, because we for real. Right.
Not to feel pull on changes, but